All right, well, welcome everyone to our third Home Office Hours Live with Vistaprint. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our third episode in a series of live discussions on timely topics, and we're featuring guest speakers along with our very own Vistaprint team members. Our goal with this series is to provide you with education and advice for surviving these unprecedented times during the COVID-19 virus. We know that small business needs have changed, and we wanted to help. So we created the Home Office Hours Live series as a way to connect during this time when we're all spending a lot of time inside and we're dealing with various challenges working from home. I know I personally, my doorbell just rang and my dog started barking. So we all have a lot of challenges right now that we recognize. So we've tapped colleagues to help answer some of the questions that you are all having as business owners right now. And today I have with me Femke Lenstra, social media lead here at Vistaprint. Femke, can you give us a wave and a hello?
Hi, thanks for having me in this episode.
Thanks for joining us, Femke. We also have Viv Yao with us. Viv is the founder of Be Influence, a social media and influencer marketing agency. Viv, can you say hello?
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Viv. Thanks for coming on. All right, so let's get into it. According to a study from Sprinkler, global social media usage was already on the steady rise for the last 5 to 6 years. It was up 50% since 2014. And now, since we've all headed inside, social media use is, of course, continuing to grow. According to Global Web Index, 33% of people are spending more time on social media, and 95% of consumers say they're spending more time consuming in-home media. So suffice it to say, people are inside and we are all very plugged in. So let's get into the big picture. With all of us online, can our panelists give us an overview of what you're seeing broadly in social right now? How would you describe the shift? Femke, maybe you can get us started off?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to through very uncertain times, as we all know, and we're going through them together. And I think when times are tough, we tend to look to people that are close to us. And apart from, of course, family and friends, these are also our neighbors, our communities, and the local businesses that perhaps form part of our daily routine until recently. So I think it's important to remember for small businesses that your customers want to know if you're okay. And they want to know if their favorite coffee place will be there when this is all behind us. So without being able to really connect in person, social is really the best way to keep communicating with your customers and let them know how you are coping. And at the same time, it's also an opportunity to let people know how they can help you pull through this.
Absolutely. Great insights. Thank you, Femke. Viv, what have you been seeing?
So I had a look at the data side of things and into some research in terms of how are we spending time at home at the moment. And this varies slightly from different generations to generation. So Gen Z, we're seeing a lot more people on TikTok. I don't know whether anyone else or any parents have joined in with their kids' TikTok videos recently. With millennials, we're seeing a lot more people watching and listening to podcasts. Gen X, they're cooking a lot more, which is unsurprising. And then with baby boomers, they're spending a lot more time on the telephone, which is unsurprising, really. And then across the world, we're seeing increase in e-commerce sales from kitchenware to makeup and skincare, hair clippers, yoga mats. I know I've just started doing yoga, never been into it before, but now suddenly it's my new best friend. And COVID-19 is greatly affecting the way we consume media and how we search for content too. So Google Trends are showing us that there's 40 times increase in people searching for how to help others during coronavirus, which is incredible. There are 5 times more searches in how to cut your own hair, and this is especially from men because they're not able to go to the barbers as often or at all. And then 6 times more searches in how to self-isolate in a shared household. So these stats are kind of, none of us could have predicted them, but they all kind of make sense that we're all at home trying to find more things that we can be more thrifty and consume media at home.
Yes, absolutely. I think none of those are terribly surprising considering the current situation, but it is pretty crazy to see the increase there. So could you two lay out some tips for how businesses should be shifting their approach to social to deal with the circumstances right now? Femke, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the strengths that you have as a small business owner that is that you're really agile, and that you're really quickly to implement, that you can really quickly implement new ideas. So this is really a time to try out new things and get your online and social presence up and running. Try out different approaches and see what works. You don't have to get it right from the start. Just see what people engage with and try out different versions of that. Also, I would say spend some time to find out who your audience is important, and what they like. Ask them questions. People love to participate in contests or polls and provide insights. You can even send a message to people that engage with your posts. Ask them if you can send them a survey or have a conversation with them, and make sure, of course, to thank them afterwards, and maybe give them a gift card or a thank you note. Um, Also, you can try to share expert advice and content about the topic of your expertise now that you're not present in your local shop. I think most importantly and lastly, it's important to be consistent and to keep on going once you found your social voice. It's no good to post only once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I definitely think now is the best time of any time to try something new, and people are really looking to engage right now. Viv, how about you? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, sure. So the main thing I would say is to pivot, not pause. So I don't know whether that's something that a lot of companies are doing at the moment because they have to, but just be reactive. So say, for example, if you have an event that you've organized in the next couple of months, see whether you can perhaps change it to a virtual event. It might be that people might prefer that at the moment, obviously. But if it's not possible and you're having to postpone it or cancel it, then perhaps looking into your audience and speaking to them with polls and questionnaires like what Femke said, and see whether they would prefer to get ticket refunds or whether they want to postpone to a later date. And of course, from a very practical perspective, take a look at all your contracts to ensure that you're covered before making any changes. So we had a campaign with a fashion client where we went to invite lots of TikTok influencers into our studio to film lots of branded content. And obviously that just wasn't possible at the moment. And so we changed the strategy where we sent all the clothes to them and they're filming at home like they would do anyway. So the content and the output of that is slightly different, but it still retains the same strategy. And I think I've forgotten certainly that this isn't going to last forever. When we have our new beginning, we're going to see fierce competition and a surge of people remarketing again. So remaining at the forefront of your customers' minds, especially as an SME, is really important. And then secondly, I would say reach out to people in your industry. So now more than ever, we have more time to engage with other business owners who might be in similar positions to you on social media. So now is the time to share, like, comment and repost. Consider joining groups that might offer support for your industry. So if you can't find any groups, then consider starting one yourself. Facebook and WhatsApp groups are a great place for creating community. Look on LinkedIn and Twitter for any digital virtual events that are out there, as well as Eventbrite and Meetup, and see what you can join and join in with the conversation.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of agility, a lot of collaboration right now, and I've definitely been impressed to see how quickly people and businesses are shifting gears right now. I would say there's definitely some behaviors we've seen that you should stay away from on social. Femke, can you share a few with us?
Well, I think probably this is not the best time to really push hard on sales. So rather than being really promotional, um, I would try to be more personal and authentic and really tell your story, and also what you're doing to get by and offer that sort of behind the scenes look. I think especially now everyone is convinced that shopping small to keep our businesses alive is the right thing to do. So if you're offering delivery, curbside pickup, or online classes, or you've implemented other changes recently, post about it. And also very important, you're not going through this alone. So reach out to other businesses in your neighborhood to discuss opportunities to collaborate. For example, Wild Roots, Ohio, started a virtual market after they had to cancel their live events, and Bow Mini Market got 30 local businesses together on an online shoppable platform. What a great idea! And this is in a matter of days.
Wow.
Yes, I thought I saw that Bow mini market and I thought that was amazing. It's really incredible to see, and it's honestly inspiring to see businesses coming together and putting this on and sharing this type of content. Viv, do you have anything to add from your perspective?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with Femke's point. Now is not the time to sell. Now is the time to really show empathy and help out others where you can. It's a time for us all to be sensitive, but also it's a great opportunity for your brand to stand out during a difficult time. So perhaps focusing on positive ways that your brand can create that engagement, or at a minimum, just stay top of mind. So posting thoughtful, relevant content whenever possible, opening that conversation out to your audience, and it's a chance for you to connect with your audience and to answer any questions or concerns that they might have. If you have any scheduled posts that may be insensitive to the current climate, so say for example you in a busy crowd or promoting an event, just use some common sense there to disclose that posts were created before quarantine or lockdown. And then secondly, I know that we've all been doing this to some capacity, but doing your bit for the community. So if you are in a position to offering your services to frontline workers for free or at a discount, or donating to some charity, it's a great way to create positive engagement on social media, but do that with the most altruistic of intentions as well. And when we looked at the Global Wed Index studies, we saw that globally people are in favour of brands who are responding to the outbreak by providing things like flexible payment terms, offering free services, closing non-essential stores, or helping to produce essential supply. So we've seen big brands like L'Oreal supplying beauty products to frontline workers. There's a brewery called Brewdog who have created hand sanitizers instead of alcohol. So think about ways that you can help back to your community. I think people at the moment are looking for any type of content that isn't doom and gloom news. So anything entertaining, uplifting. We've seen that influencers have worked with the likes of the World Health Organization to encourage people to wash their hands. So they've worked with over 8,000 creators to promote content around washing your hands, which is just brilliant. And then we also have a UK fitness influencer called Wicks who does a PE lesson, so a sports lesson, every single day at 9 a.m, which he streams on YouTube, which just brings families together and help keep children busy for at least an hour out of a parent's day, which I'm sure helps.
I'm sure. Well, these are all great examples so far. There's definitely a theme of engaging with your community and still continuing to be social this time, although virtually. I think that said, a lot of us are not sure where to dedicate this extra time that we might have on our hands right now. And it's hard to know which platform to dedicate your time to. So Femke, can you tell us a little bit about how to choose the right platform to dedicate your time to?
Yes, I actually get this question a lot from people, and they say, "I don't have any time. I'm very busy with running my business, but I know I have to devote time to social media. So what platform should I be on?" So the short answer is it depends, and I realize that that's not helpful at all. So I will elaborate a bit. But I will challenge people with thinking first about what their objective is. So what do you want social media to do for you? Do you have a unique brand or selling unique selling point that you want to tell people about? Do you want to share advice with people to make it clear that you are the place to go, the place to get an expert opinion, or do you want to promote an offer? And I think once you have that answer, there are different platforms and different ways to help you reach that objective, but none of it is exclusive, and this is also not an absolute truth. So let's just go over the main ones, the main social platforms that we all know, starting with Facebook. Facebook is like the new TV. Everyone has it. It's a broadcast channel for all ages, and it's still the platform with the biggest number of active users. You can use this platform to link to content on your website or feature videos that people can engage with on the platform itself. Actually, the hard part about Facebook is to actually reach your audience. So organically, you can make an impact if you have a loyal fan base, and that's actually one of the advantages of small businesses. Um, and otherwise, paid ads can also help you target the right customers. And this can be more relevant if you want to send out offers to customers that are ready to buy. Facebook also has some basic targeting options for organic posts on business pages. So make sure to play around with those. Instagram is a very visual and story focused platform. It's a platform to share inspirational content that you think represents your business in the best light. Photography, videography, it has to look great, high quality, high res photos and videos. Um, and you should also have consistency in the type of posts or stories that you share in order for people to want to follow you. Organic posts in the regular feed are not great for linking to your site because links are shared in your bio, which is an extra step that people have to make. Stories, however, Instagram stories are more suited for adding links because you can ask people to respond immediately by swiping up. If you want to share really nice product photography and offers, then Instagram also offers a paid function for shoppable posts. That brings us to Twitter. This is really a platform that is all about starting or joining a conversation. It's a platform that requires you to spend a bit more time because people are expecting that when you start a conversation that you also follow up on it. Take advantage of Twitter as a small business to ask people questions about your brand. And also know that many people use Twitter to talk about brands. So this is also good to keep in mind. LinkedIn is great for sharing insights on topics that you consider yourself knowledgeable in. So really use it to establish yourself as a subject matter expert by sharing your own content or sharing content from other relevant and established sources. And it's a great place, of course, we've already mentioned it, to network and to connect with other businesses in your neighborhood or in the same industry as yours. Pinterest is actually more of a search engine, but most people know it as well as a social platform. It's focused on inspirational searches and focus a lot on lifestyle as well. Use it for presenting your sort of ready-made solutions that your business might offer and show off your creativity. And then YouTube, also great search engine, and it's good for sharing longer video content. And it can be used for sharing educational content or instructional content about your products, for example. I've seen that a lot as well.
Thank
Hope
you.
that helps.
Yes, I think this is really helpful. I hope it helps answer a lot of questions about which platforms are best for what kind of content. So if you're one of those people with extra time with all the changes happening out there, Viv, do you have any additional thoughts in addition to spending some time figuring out what platform is right for you? Any other thoughts on productive ways to spend any extra time that you've got right now?
Sure. So when you're kind of out of the phases of watching Netflix and Disney Plus, for example, I've spent a lot of time doing a mini audit of the current content that we've got already. So if you don't have kind of an inventory of your content assets to date, so that's things like social media posts, web pages, email newsletters, blog posts, ebooks, presentations, videos, any type of content that you put out there, this is a great time to get started. So a very practical way of doing this is creating a Google sheet or an Excel sheet and use one tab for each type of content that you might have, and then evaluate each piece with a very critical eye. So which high quality pieces and images can you repurpose for other channels? So that might be a blog post that you turn into a video or vice versa. Which pieces get the most social shares or the most backlinks? So you can usually find that on your analytics platform on your website. Which ones get the most traffic onto your site? And then look at opportunities to see how you can actually refresh those. So updating with more fresh and relevant content, optimizing with new call to actions. If you have a new link to send someone else to, or a discount, for example, adding internal links to new products and services. And then when everything picks back up again, re-promoting these contents that you've got, and then you've saved yourself a lot of time in terms of planning content up front then.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's definitely a good time to take stock of your work and your content and set yourself up for success. What other advice would you have for content that businesses are trying to put out right now?
Sure. So, I mean, as a small business owner myself, so we're a small agency, we're a startup. It means that a lot of our work is currently either on hold or for the time being, or work is minimal at the moment. So I've used this time to create a podcast called "But Where Are You From?" And this is more of a passion project for myself. And it's a podcast for British-born Asians. And since I launched it last week, I've had Instagram messages from people all over the world, which is incredible, which I didn't expect to. I expected probably 2 listens from my sisters, and that's it. So I think the point is kind of finding whatever your passion is during this time, if you can, and finding a niche to really grow your online audience and connect with like-minded people. I appreciate we're in fraught times at the moment, so sometimes it's not viable for people to start other creative projects, but for me personally, it's kept me sane and productive rather than just sitting watching Disney Plus all day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm not one of the people who has been putting any creative projects out myself, but I very much appreciate and have been consuming all of the creative projects that I've seen people like you putting out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've talked a lot about reaching out to followers and how to engage, but we haven't really talked about the follower base themselves. Femke, I know a lot of people aren't sure if they need to have a lot of followers in order to have impact on social. What do you think?
Yes, the number of followers. It's something that a lot of people worry about. It's actually not that bad to not have a huge following. It's more important to have the right followers. So definitely quality over quantity, I would say. Uh, I said it before. I think the advantage that you have as a small or local business is that you are likely to have a more loyal and authentic group of followers or potential followers, um, because they might be people that bought from you once and really appreciated the good experience. And that is actually a great base to start a conversation. So don't hold back when it comes to directing your posts at these at your customers, and ask them questions about what they would like to see you talk about or you post about. And also, I think if you're a local business, post things that people from that community will recognize or can relate to. Especially now, it's really good to emphasize that sense of us.
For sure. I think it's so important to make sure that the people who follow you are actually engaging with you. And to
Definitely.
that end, Viv, can you speak to the logic of continuing to reach out to your followers right now, even if your business isn't operating business as usual?
Yeah, definitely. I do think that it's important to continue posting on social media during this time. So continue to write blog posts, continue to produce content. These are things that you can do for free, essentially. It just takes time out of your day. And a piece of advice that I heard recently is just throw all the best time to post logic out of the window at the moment. Good content will be found regardless of the amount of times you post a day or in the times in which you post. And LinkedIn is a good example of this. So the algorithm still works well in favor for good content. So say, for example, if you like a piece of content, that's then shared within your wider network. And so ensuring people remember your business is the most important thing. So when this whole thing is over, your customers will return, and especially if you're an SME, it's extremely important to continue to be at the forefront.
Yes, I agree. I think it's definitely important to remember that what you're doing today and right now is going to impact things when everything starts to come back. Do you have any advice for balancing what you're doing right now with an eye for the long-term health of your business?
Yeah, definitely. I think this has certainly been a time for in terms of reflection, especially for me in terms of being a small business owner. And again, reiterating the fact that hopefully this isn't going to last forever. So if you have some time, then kind of jot down and consider how you can plan for mid to long-term activities. So looking at key periods such as summer, back to school, autumn, winter, and Christmas time. So just consider your promotional and marketing strategies for each of those key seasons or whichever key periods you usually operate in. It's usually big corporations who have the luxury and the manpower to consider strategies this far ahead. So use this time to your advantage. So we've been doing things that we haven't had time to do, like entering into awards, creating video case studies of our work. And it was just stuff that we always put on the back burner. So take your own business as a benchmark and see how you can improve on last year. So are there any marketing channels that you haven't tried that you think might work well? Consider promotions that you may not necessarily have done last year. So as I mentioned, there's going to be a resurgence of businesses returning, hopefully. So it's a good time to stand out from the crowd and think about what it is that's going to make customers remember you and want to return back to you.
Well, thank you both. I think these have been great insights, hopefully really helpful for our audience. I'm going to take us to Q&A now. If you haven't submitted any questions, you can do so using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll get started with the ones that have come in so far, and we'll keep taking them. So first question that's come in, is it okay for me to use the same content across Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook? And if not, how should I differentiate it? Femke, can you take this one?
Yeah, I think probably not is a really short answer again. I think we touched upon it a little bit. I think if you have some time to think about what your objective is and what are the platforms that can best meet that objective, feel free to rewind this video later on, and we will post it on all our social channels, and just see if there are things that you're already doing and that you're currently posting on all the platforms, and rethink that a bit. That would be great. Again, Twitter is really for fast updates and things that are linked to current events. Facebook is really good for linking to site. Instagram is very visual, so great for sharing beautiful photography of your product or stories of behind the scenes. Yeah, be creative and play around with it, and I think you'll and if you have a favorite platform, just stick with that one. Stick with what you like the best.
Thank you. So Viv, maybe you can take this next one. We talked a little bit earlier in the beginning of the presentation about using social to sell products right now, and we've said it's probably not the right time to be heavily promotional, but let's answer the question, is it okay at all for me to use my social media posts to sell my products right now?
I mean, I think it very much depends on what your product or service is. So, I mean, considering the current climate, we're all prioritizing essential products. So consider whether it could be insensitive to be selling your product if it's not going to be useful right now. But I think having said that, people are still looking very closely at discounted products at this time. So I think trying to balance sensitivity with sales and harken back to what we said before, it's not that beneficial for brands to be overly salesy right now. So just consider whether it can be really beneficial to people during this time.
Yes, I agree. I think there's definitely a degree of common sense there as well. Yeah. Yes. So next question, I'm only using Instagram at the moment. How do you recommend that I expand my social media presence? I think both of you probably have some very good answers to this. Femke, can we start with you?
Yes, I think Viv already mentioned, I love that idea of creating resources. I think if times are a little bit less busy than your usual day-to-day, you can think about creating some online resources that are helpful to your customers. And maybe to get into the how a little bit more, I think it might help to try to think about a few key resources that fulfill the same needs as your products and are equally as helpful as your product or service is to your customer, and try to create online content instead. So, for example, if you are you have a furniture business, and you take pride in hand making all your furniture to give off a sort of a rustic feel, then you can think about creating some interior design tips to make that furniture fit well in your interior. And of course, share those interior examples on Pinterest, link the blog article on your Facebook, share the beautiful photography on Instagram, and create a video story of you preparing for the photo shoot, for example. Just key pieces that you think can be helpful for your customers, and I think that is what really draws them in and can engage people.
Yeah, I love that example. Thank you. Viv, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I do think that if you are only using Instagram at the moment for a reason, so say for example, if that's the main platform that's working for you, then continue doing that. I think we sometimes get social media FOMO, where we feel like we have to be across all platforms. We've got to be on TikTok, we've got to be on the next one, whatever it might be. But I think if you have no intention of continuing with that platform, then focus on what you enjoy, what type of content you enjoy posting most. And then second to Femke's point as well, in terms of kind of using content in different ways. So how can you take the Instagram content that you're doing at the moment and then turn that into something else? So could it work as a YouTube tutorial? Could it work as a blog post? Could it work in a podcast format? And just consider how to repurpose content that you've already got. Might be the most efficient way of expanding your social media presence if you're kind of beginning to start out in that realm.
Yeah, I think those are great suggestions. Thank you. We have another question actually about platforms. Which platform is the best to post on at the moment, and which one is most popular during COVID-19? Viv, I'm going to ask you to take this one. I know you had a lot of stats about what we're seeing right now, so maybe you can take this.
Yeah, I mean, so it's quite a broad question, and obviously it probably depends a lot on you as a brand and your core audience. And we've seen masses of people on TikTok. Mainly, I think people are doing it out of boredom, but really, if your brand are looking to speak to a younger audience, then that could be a good opportunity for you if you know how to navigate that platform, and just think about how that platform works, and the fact that it's there as an entertaining content platform rather than a sales platform. And so I think it goes back to Femke saying that think about what your objectives are. What is the reason as to why you're using those platforms? Is the best way to do that. So I mean, in terms of kind of the best platform at the moment, it's hard to say, but right now the stats are showing that TikTok is where everyone's just flocking to, just due to the fact that I think it's just kind of staving off boredom for the time being.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But to your point, I think you definitely have to think about, does TikTok make sense for you? So even if the numbers are showing huge growth, is it really right for you and your business?
Yeah.
We have another question here about promoting products. So what are creative ways to promote non-essential products in conjunction with the prioritized needs of the current climate? I know that you've both seen a number of examples like this. Femke, maybe you could share a few for us that you have seen that you think have done a really good job?
Yeah, I think I don't have examples at hand at the moment, but I've seen many businesses promote what they are doing to cope with the fact that their stores are currently closed and they cannot have any customers, receive any customers in store. A lot of them are offering to deliver products to people's homes. People have a curbside pickup organized for their business. Yeah, it's really all about coming to your customers instead of your customers letting your customers come to you, as we know they can't. So it's really, yeah, trying to find ways to keep that social distance, but still bring your product to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Viv, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think I've seen the same as well, and it's more so within kind of the hospitality and food industry. I've seen, obviously there's lots of restaurants closing down at the moment, but then we've seen them transfer to online, especially SMEs, where they are, say for example, they have sauces that they usually make in the restaurants. They're now putting them in jars and shipping them out to people so people can then recreate dishes at home. And I think that would still be classed as non-essential as such, but kind of just taking it online. We've obviously seen that. We've seen people supporting businesses by buying gift vouchers, so they'll go back to them once the stores open again. So I think any kind of SME, I think it's probably the right time to be talking to your audience and seeing how they can help, because people genuinely want to help small businesses right now more than ever. So even if you are a non-essential item, think about how you can change that to be an online service, and ask your audience, like we said before, ask your audience, how would you want us to provide our service for you, and see whether there's an appetite for it.
I absolutely agree. I think we're really seeing people responding to that outreach from their favorite small businesses, and people are happy to support in any way they can right now. So just being honest and trying to get that feedback about how you can still provide your products to your customers, essential or not, is really important. Thank you. Okay, so our next question. I only have a small social media following and they are not engaging with my posts. Do you have any suggestions for how I can get more likes or comments? Femke, do you think you could take this one?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have the right followers and not to have a lot of followers. But one maybe practical tip to get more followers or get more people, the type of followers that tend to engage with your post, is to look at to tag businesses that are similar to yours. So these can be businesses in your neighborhood, or businesses that are in a similar industry as yours. Tag them or share their post directly. And one of the advantages of that is that their followers will see your post on their timeline, because they're following that business that you share the content from. And that actually makes the chances that bigger that they also start to follow you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Viv, maybe you can take this next one here. Can you provide suggestions of new types of content that I can share through social media to help me connect with my existing new customers and acquire some new ones?
Yeah, sure. So I guess the main advice would be look at types of content that doesn't cost a lot to produce or create, so things you can do at home. So like we mentioned before, sort of video content, we all have good enough smartphones now to be able to do that, to live stream. If you want to look into podcasting, all you need is a microphone. Like I just use this, which does the job, and a laptop. So think about how that type of content can add value as well. So always go back to the purpose as to why you're creating that content. There's no point creating content for the sake of it, but think about whether that is an entertaining piece, an education piece. And as we mentioned before, more people are in favor of brands who can offer things that might be of value, like flexible payment plans or something that's kind of giving back to the community. So consider ways of incentivizing people to engage with your content as well.
Yes, I think that's great. Thank you. And actually, building on the topic of content, let's stick with you, Viv, for this next question. How often should I be posting new content, and when is it okay to repost my own content?
So if we're talking about this current climate right now, I would say just post as often as you want. If it's good enough and relevant to your audience, then it should gain the traction that it deserves. If you asked me that question, say, a few months ago, I would have been like, look into your insights on Instagram and look at kind of when people are engaging most. But I think because this is such a unique situation, we're online more so than ever. And like I said, so if you're reposting content, for example, consider why you're doing that in the first place. Is it just filler content? Are you just posting it for the sake of it? And if so, it's probably best to wait until you have some content that adds value, because you just don't want to come across as repetitive, basically.
I just want to add to that. I just want to say, I think it's absolutely okay to post content more than once. It's really about that value. If you think it is a valuable resource for your customers, keep in mind that not everyone sees your post. It's actually a very small percentage of the people that your posts are being presented to. And actually, the more followers you have, the smaller the chances are that everyone gets to see your content. So if your content is very valuable to customers, go ahead and post it more than once. And also I think in terms of quantity, there's really no magical number. 5 times a day can be very little for Twitter, but it can be perfectly fine to only post once or twice a day on Facebook. And also here, it's really important to be consistent. If you find that it's posting on social media is a task for you, and you know you have to do it, but it's not your favorite thing in the world, try to make it part of your daily routine. Actually, my partner runs a recording studio here in Barcelona, where he lives, and he posts every morning while he's in a bath.
That's brilliant.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I think that's really helpful. So this next question, my business has closed due to state orders, and I don't know what to talk about. What type of messages should I be posting? Femke, can you take this one?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're able to take this time to really reflect on, or see this as an investment, to try out some of the things that we discussed, and that you haven't tried before, so that you make sure that you hit the ground running when your business opens again. So have conversations with customers, talk about the problems they are trying to solve that normally your product solves for, but now maybe you can offer online advice on. Create these resources that allow you to talk about what you know best, and really become that expert, so that when you open again, you're the first place they have in mind. Also connect to other people in the industry, join Facebook groups, see what they're doing. Sometimes we can really stare ourselves blind on a problem, and just looking around you and see what others are doing can help you get a new perspective, a fresh perspective.
Thank you. I think that's really good advice. Reaching out is definitely important right now. Yeah. So Viv, let's have you take this next one. There are so many posts about COVID-19 out there. And do you have suggestions on how to make mine stand out from the crowd?
Sure. So, I mean, well, every business is unique. We're all going through the same thing, but in very different ways. So I think the best advice that I can give is to just tell your story in the most honest and authentic way. And just remember that we're all just human beings talking to each other. So speak to your audience like you're speaking to a close friend. Be honest and frank about the situation. It might be really rubbish. And so if it is, then say that. I think people are really empathetic during these times, especially if you're an SME. And I think going back to how kind of social media works, I feel like the more emotive a piece of content is, the more people tend to engage with it anyway, because it just sparks something inside of them. So just tell your story honestly. If your business is struggling, say that. If your mental health is struggling, then say that. And that's probably the best way to stand out from the crowd is tell your story uniquely to you.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you. This one is more a general question, I think, definitely for right now, but anytime. Most of my posts are images and text, but I see so many using video instead. Are video posts worth the extra effort? Femke, can you start us with this one?
I think videos are definitely a good investment of your time. So if you have some more time now than you usually do, definitely invest there. Videos posted organically to your timeline have a greater reach, meaning that it's being presented to more people, to a bigger percentage of your following. And also that is because social media platforms really like to keep people on their platform. So that reach is automatically a little bit higher if you're posting video versus, for example, just text. And also videos tend to draw more engagement in general than just text posts. So make sure that if you can't do video, at least have a visual element in there, but video is definitely recommendable. Also, and I do want to say that here again, it's really important to link back to your objective. So if you want people to click on a blog article you wrote on your website, and you've just presented them with a great 2-minute long video to watch, or a short video, maybe better, the chances are that people are ready to move on. So I would really try to focus the effort of your post on one objective at a time.
Awesome, thank you. Viv, do you have anything to add there about video?
Yeah, I do think video is a really powerful platform because it's all immersive. And if you look at the stats in terms of, say, Instagram image, if we're looking through your feed, we spend about 4 seconds looking per post, whereas opposed to, say, on YouTube, when we're looking at video, the sound is turned on, there's moving imagery, there's moving video, and we spend an average watch time of around 4 minutes. So it's certainly a kind of a more immersive platform where it feels like you're almost connecting with whoever's watching a lot more than a static image post. So I do think it's a very powerful form of media. But again, going back to what is the reason why you're creating video content, always have a purpose for it, always have an objective and what you're trying to achieve, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both. So we're going to take one more question and then we'll go to final thoughts. So Viv, I know you have a lot of experience on TikTok. You can take this one. Should I connect with the younger customers on Snapchat or TikTok?
So I think, they're both great for kind of capturing generally like unfiltered, entertaining content. TikTok is a great platform for people to jump onto current trends with the possibility of gaining some kind of immediate clout. If you want to look at connecting with young customers on there, perhaps ask yourself the question as to whether you'd be posting on either of those platforms if this current situation wasn't happening. If it's part of your longer term social strategy and you have a captive younger audience, then there's absolutely no harm in seeing what works, as long as you remain consistent with it. If you feel like you're posting just to capitalize on the trends now, and then in a few months' time when everything returns back to normal, you might lose that traction if you decide not to continue posting. But I do definitely think it's a really fun platform, TikTok especially, to just experiment with and have fun with, and I've seen some brands do incredible things on there. I've just seen on Twitter before, Drake's written and filmed a new video at home, a new song, and it's purely with the intent of it going viral on TikTok, so it can be extremely powerful. So he's created a really simple dance that people can then replicate at home quite easily. So it's definitely one of those platforms where brands are starting to jump onto the bandwagon, but it's like any marketing channel. You have to think about whether it fits into kind of your brand ethos as a whole and whether it's right for your audience.
Right, thank you. I'll have to check out that Drake video.
It's good.
Well, thank you both. We are going to close it out for today, but we are going to be hosting these discussions multiple times per week on various topics, and we want the audience's help with that. So please be sure to fill out the survey at the end of this to tell us what you want to hear. And you can also send your questions to homeofficehours@vistaprint.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram to stay up to date on the episodes that we have coming up. You can tune in next Wednesday to hear about shifting your content strategy during COVID-19. And on Friday, we're going to be talking about running your business online during COVID-19. You can find more information in the meantime by visiting vistaprint.com and check out the Small Business Support Hub. So I'd like to ask each of you before we go, what your final thought is on today's conversation. Viv, can you start us?
Yeah, sure. So mine might be a little bit controversial and it might seem a bit counterintuitive, but I would say switching off on social media is probably quite important for just our overall health and well-being at the moment. If things feel overwhelming, then I've found some tips that have really helped me be able to focus on my current day-to-day work. So things like avoiding the news in the morning and before going to bed, switching off all my notifications across my social media apps. So I don't have any notification pings for WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter. And so that really means that the control is within my reach. So if I want to go and check my notifications, I can do, but it means that it's not served to me without me being conscious of it. And then across most social media sites as well, so Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you can mute or restrict certain accounts. So if you find an account to kind of be impacting your mental health negatively, then just consider muting them. They won't know. It doesn't notify anyone, and then you feel better for it, and they're none the wiser. So I think just looking after your health and well-being, because we're all seeing that we're spending more time on our phones and tablets and TV, whatever. So just kind of being mindful of that, and being mindful to switch off when you can.
Thank you, Bev. Femke, how about you?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think my final thought is really to social media doesn't have the word social in it for nothing. So go out there and connect with others, and just talk about what you're going through. And also remember that your customers care, and they want you to make it through this, because you are part of their us. And also, when this time is behind us, come up with a big way to thank those that supported you through it all.
I love that. Thank you. Well, thank you both for taking the time to be with us today, and thank you to the audience for your curiosity and questions and your time. This has been Home Office Hours Live with Vistaprint, and we'll talk with you soon.